What's up?
Now just recording a podcast. What's up with you?
Oh, not too much. You know what, though?
What?
You need a counselor.
Thanks, so do you.
I do need a counselor. You're right. Hey. Hello. Welcome to You Need a Counselor. I'm Julie Johnson. I am a mental health counselor and the founder of Heart and Solutions. We're a counseling agency here in Iowa. We cover telehealth counseling and we cover in-person counseling right now in all of our office locations. And also we do in-home counseling, which you are going to hear a lot about today. Mm-hmm. People don't always know that in-home counseling is a thing. Or is an option.
Or even like what BHIS is. I feel like every time we either hire someone or go to like a networking meeting and talk about BHIS, people are like, what's that? And have
what
no
is
idea,
that?
or don't know what we're even saying.
Yeah. And then they're so excited because they're like, wait, I don't have to drive anywhere. Like, I don't have to go anywhere. I can just do it in my house. Yeah. That's awesome. That's amazing. Like, we need more stuff like that just comes to your house and does things for you.
Especially now.
Yes.
We're all used to not leaving our houses now.
Definitely. So we do BHIS. We do BHIS over the phone, over the computer, also in home. We do mental health therapy in the office, over the phone, and over the computer.
And I'm Chrissa. I am the vice president at Heart and Solutions. So I'm actually in charge of that whole BHIS department that we'll be talking about today. So like Julie mentioned, we do go in home. We work with kids ages 4 to 18 on different behaviors. And we'll be talking more about that today because our guest is one of our BHIS counselors in our office. And this is You Need a Counselor. The mission of our podcast is that we are designed for people curious about counseling, but who have barriers keeping them from experiencing the benefits of counseling. Our mission is to share stories about counseling, good, bad, and indifferent, and spread the message that everyone can benefit from mental health and behavioral health counseling services.
Do you have that entire thing memorized now?
I'm surprised I don't yet. I still read it off the thing, but maybe if I had to memorize it, like if this wasn't here next to the screen, I would maybe try harder.
His memory is like a steel trap. Like she will remember things. Like if you tell her your address, don't do it because she'll remember.
I do know Julie's address and phone number.
Address and phone.
Oh
like,
my
who
gosh.
knows people's phone numbers?
I know like 3, maybe.
Yeah.
Like we sent
my
Julie
husband,
flowers.
my mom.
We sent Julie flowers for Boss's Day last week, and I did not even have to look up your address to send
That's so weird. How?
You're like, yep.
I don't understand how your brain works. Like
I don't know.
It's like
it's a
scientific miracle. I don't get it. Like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. And you've had that memorized for 9 years.
Probably. See, it's just because I've had to say your number or heard you say it so much because we've worked together for, over 8 years now.
That's true.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is our podcast. Chris's memory is amazing and You Need a Counselor. Those are 2 things
that you'll learn from today.
Good. Okay. So we post on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. So don't do your laundry during the week. Do your laundry on the weekend, batch it up, save that, batch it up. Just don't do it. If it's like Thursday and you're like, oh, I should be doing laundry. Nope. No, you don't.
Save it for Sunday.
Do it on the weekend. Batch that up, put it away. Actually, my friend Tennille, Chrissa and I know, we were on a group chat the other day and I was saying something on Sunday about putting away laundry and she was like, oh, I did that yesterday. And I was like, what?
That's not what Saturdays are for.
That is not the day to put away laundry. What are you doing to me? Put away laundry on Sunday nights. Listen to us. We post and publish those episodes on Friday nights at 5 o'clock. So check
Sunday
us out.
Nights at 5 o'clock.
Sunday nights at
Not
5
Friday
o'clock. Check them out. Okay, so we have a really, really exciting guest today. We've got Reyna Melendez. Hi, Reyna.
Hello.
Hi, welcome to the show. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So Reyna is one of our BHIS providers here at Heart and Solutions. And oh my gosh, she does such an amazing job. I actually just sent an email. When was that? Like a week ago? 2 weeks ago? Time just doesn't exist in 2020.
It really doesn't.
At some point in the near, recent past, I got a phone call from a mom about a totally unrelated issue. And she was like, oh, and also Reyna is like the first counselor that my child has felt comfortable with and has wanted to talk to and opened up to. And I was like, oh my gosh. And, and I'm just so proud when I have those moments where, sometimes a parent, like I said, it was totally unrelated. Like she wasn't calling to brag on Reyna, right? But within that conversation was just like, could not say enough about how amazing it was to work with Reyna for that child. So I'm really, really excited for you guys who are listening to hear Reyna talk about BHIS, because she's clearly very good at it.
Oh my
And so
goodness.
we want to make sure that everybody gets to learn about it direct from the source, from somebody who's directly doing it every day. So Reyna works in our like Ankeny, Des Moines area, but she also was seeing clients in Ames and then bought a house. So congratulations, it's awesome.
Thank you.
And it's been really cool because you're able to then, even though you moved and you have this new house, you're still able to continue to do this work because it's in-home work.
Yes.
And so you're also, right now, you're getting your master's, right?
I am.
Is that in person or is that?
Yep, we are in person. My cohort's pretty small. We only have, I think, 12 people. And so we got like a waiver basically that we're allowed to meet in person for class 3 times a week. And then I also have practicum at the hospital. So like I'm already going to be there anyway. So they kind of figured we can let them be in person. They're small enough.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So you are so super busy. And
Yes.
so what are you getting your master's in? Tell us about that, because this is interesting.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm a student at Drake University, and I'm getting my master's in applied behavior analysis, or ABA. ABA is not super common. I feel like here in the Midwest, it's more related to like the autism community, specifically in Iowa, because the only way for insurance to cover ABA therapy is if the individual has an autism diagnosis, which is something that like our board of ABA in Iowa is working really, really hard to change those rules. It's like literally like a law, like they just can't receive it unless they have the autism diagnosis. But yeah, it's awesome. It's just all about behavior. It's crazy. It's literally everything that we do. But a lot of it can kind of fall into that mental health field as well. Right now I'm working at Blank's developmental clinic for my practicum, and I'm doing severe and challenging problem behaviors. So I have a few different clients. I have actually very young clients, which is a different age group for me, but it's pretty great. I feel like a huge nerd just learning about behavior all the time and all these big words, and sometimes I have to like take a step back and just be like, whoa, like I need to take a minute. But it's awesome. I think ABA is so cool. Where ABA and mental health kind of meet would be kind of like that cognitive behavior therapy. That's kind of similar. But yeah, ABA, hopefully eventually one day it'll be a little more mainstream, but I feel like it's kind of on that same speed of just mental health in general. It's like just another type of therapy that like people aren't super comfortable. I want to say like admitting that they need, but even just like reaching out for that service. We're not quite there yet.
So with the younger kiddos that you're working with the ABA, so that's applied behavioral analysis.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Speaking of big words.
No, literally.
So applied behavioral analysis, ABA. So when you're working with these younger kiddos, what does that look like? What kinds of things are you doing in those sessions?
Oh my goodness. I feel like I could go like on and on. So stop me.
Please
whenever.
do.
It's like over. Yeah, and I can't speak for the whole like ABA community. I feel like I'm like one of the worst spokespersons because I'm like a first semester grad student. I don't think I can call myself a first year grad student until I like pass the first semester. But midterms are done and those were passed, so that's a good start.
Yes.
Yes. But so one of the clients that I work with, he is very young. He's actually not going to be 2, or he'll be 2 this coming November, sorry, in like a month. And so we work with challenging behavior. We call that our target behavior. And his is self-injurious behavior, or SIBs, is what there's lots of acronyms too in ABA, clearly. And so we do things like a functional analysis is one of the first things that we'll run. And basically that determines what is maintaining the behavior, what the function of the behavior is. So we run multiple conditions. Usually it's an attention condition. And that would look like saying like, okay, like I have to work right now. I can't talk to you. And you turn away from them and you see if they, engage in that target behavior, that problem behavior, whether it's aggression or property destruction or inappropriate like vocalization. And once you do that, you would say like, you would turn to them and say like, I don't like it when you hit yourself. I don't like it when you hit me. And you turn back around. And basically the point of that is if their behavior is maintained by that attention or the lack of attention, they're going to have very high levels of problem behavior, and you'll see that. But we also run like a tangible condition, which is basically just like their toys or like their tablets. Tablets are huge. You guys know, all kids love tablets.
Yeah.
That's like our magic power is tablets. So yeah, we would let them have access for it for a little bit, and then we would just take it away and say, it's my turn to play. And if that restricted access to tangibles is the reason why they have so much problem behavior, it would be very high levels again. And then the last condition, I guess one of the last conditions is a demand. And so if their behavior is maintained by escape from demands, that could look like them like running out of the classroom when it's time to do work, or throwing a fit when someone asks if they can like complete this chore. And so we stand there for 10 minutes and we give them demands. Their age appropriate demands are, so it's like, write this word, clap your hands for our little young ones, and things like that. And if there's lots of problem behavior, we know that their behavior might be maintained by escape from demands. And then the last condition we run is a control condition. And basically we give them whatever they want. If they want attention, we give them attention. If they want to be left alone, we leave them alone. We don't place any demands on them. And that way we can kind of tell like where the levels look. So it's truly a science. We take a lot of data. We graph a lot. I'm very friendly with Excel these days, which I never thought I would be. But yeah, we do lots of graphing. It's all like in the numbers, it's all in the data, so we can really see what's working and what's not working. But then once we know the function of the behavior is what we would call it, we can make treatment plans basically from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So when you're doing those things with them, you're doing assessment to
Yes.
see which of these four. So you might let them play with the tablet and then take it away and see if what the reaction
Pretty
is.
much.
You might give them attention or not give attention and see what their
Yeah.
reaction is. And then based on what escalates the behaviors, then you can focus in on those with intervention.
Right. And we try to mimic what they do at home, especially like with the tangible. When we take away that tablet, they're going to throw a fit or a tantrum is what we hear a lot. And, eventually they probably get the tablet back because it's easier than working through the tantrum. Parents, no, we'll give it back. And so that's why we try to mimic that. We give it back to them for like 30 seconds and then we take it away again. I feel like it probably sounds really odd to someone who's never seen it done, because it is
Like-
very odd.
Like taking candy from a baby.
No, literally.
Literally.
Literally, my job is you take away the one thing that child loves.
Yes, one time I made this kid cry and we had to terminate the session.
No.
We call it like teeing the session, because like he wasn't even mad and engaging in problem behavior. He was just sad that I took his like train set away from him. And my supervisor was like, yeah, we gotta figure out a different way to do this. So there are multiple functional analyses that you can run. That's just the standard one. That's the one that's been researched the most and been proven to be the best. But there is a lot more like naturalistic ones that I personally have done a lot of research in. And I think those are super cool because you can do those more in a natural environment versus in a room and just, taking things from them.
Instead of just taking things from children.
Yeah, but yeah, it's super cool. I feel like I analyze people's behaviors all the time now. And like my dogs, I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, because you want my attention or because you want your toy? Literally, yes. But yeah, it's super cool, but it's a lot of data. It's very data driven, science driven, but it's cool.
Yeah, I love that, because the theory behind that, or the worldview behind that, is that the behaviors are for a purpose. The behaviors are not in order to annoy you. They're not in order to, because they hate you. They're not because they're just a bad kid, right? Like there are all these ideas that I think we get in society when we see a kid having a tantrum in a Walmart, right? We go, oh, that parent has no control over that kid, right? Like all of these things that society kind of puts on us, and none of those things are actually what's causing the behaviors. And so like the parenting or the parent, it's not a gauge of like how good of a parent that parent is, right? It's that that child is meeting a need in a way that that child has learned how to meet that need.
Oh, exactly.
So I love the framework behind it, that paradigm of like, the child is doing exactly the best that they can. Like we all learn new ways to do things. And then when we learn better ways to do it, we do it that way. And kids are so good at learning.
Oh my gosh,
They're like
yes.
little sponges, right? Like they
Yes.
are so good at it that the things that, you know, they learn that we like are not trying to intentionally teach them, but they still learn them really, really well and really, really
Exactly.
quickly. So the great thing about that is that those kiddos are expressing their needs. They are problem solving, you know, like,
Yes.
okay, I want a hug, right, from my mom. So I'm gonna whine and throw myself on the floor. If that doesn't work to get me a hug, I'm gonna then do a 180. I have a 4-year-old. I'm gonna do a 180. And now I'm gonna come over. Hi, mommy. I love you. Hug, please. Right? And she gives me like the Puss in Boots eyes, like,
yes. Oh my gosh.
she switches up her behavior because depending on what works and what gets
Yes.
her what she's trying to get or what her outcome is. So I just really love that paradigm behind it.
Yes, kids are so smart. And I feel like it's similar to even like when I have to write my notes, I can't just put he was mad today, so he did this. Like we are trying to use words like he appeared to be because his face looked like this and he did this. So like I do like it because we're not guessing what the behavior might be maintained by and creating a treatment plan that just doesn't work at all. We're really trying to get to the bottom of it, even if it takes like a little more time, a little more dirty work. But it's usually worth it in the end.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And does that help the parents too to kind of have a better, because do they get kind of a report of all of the data that you've collected? And
Oh,
do you
yes.
say data or data?
I feel like I do both. Data, data. I think I say data.
Data?
I
I
think.
say data because like Star Trek. So
I think I say data because of like the little boy on Goonies and his name's like Data. They
Data.
call him Data.
You know, I mean, that's the first time a lot of us heard the word is those characters. So I feel like I don't know.
I know, that's funny. Yeah, I say data and datum always gets me. My professor is like, if you're saying a single point, you have to say datum because that's like singular because data is plural.
I did not know there was a singular for data.
Yeah,
I
me
did
either.
not know either.
I get points docked every week for that, and it still hasn't changed. I'm like, one day.
How do you spell datum?
It's DATUM? AUM.
That makes sense.
It ends in UM. I don't know where the A follows, but it's datum point. So
Interesting.
yeah, it gets me every time.
Learning all kinds of things on this podcast.
Wow. Okay.
She's gonna remember that forever.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes, she is. Yes,
Yeah.
she is. And if you take one more thing away from this podcast now. That's cool. Okay, so anyhow, the parents.
Yes.
So the parents get this collection of data full of multiple points of datum.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Get it? Yes. Okay. And so do you find that is helpful to parents to be able to see kind of in black and white what's going on here?
Yes. Yeah. So what we call that an FBA report, again with the acronyms, but that's a functional behavior assessment report. It's hard to talk without the acronyms. I feel like it's really like testing me. But yeah, so that basically has everything that we have done from start of the intake assessment, all of that, all of our observations, because we take also multiple other types of observations. And yeah, they get all of that. They get every single graph. They get it in detail, and we explain it in analytical terms, and then we explain it in terms that parents can understand, because it is a lot. And I mean, these reports are like 20 pages long when we've only been seeing their kids for like maybe 3 or 4 weeks. Wow. So it's pretty long. but yeah, we include everything in that. And I think the parents, it helps to know that progress is being made, because progress is usually very, very slow. It's very gradual for the most part anyways. It doesn't happen overnight. So it's nice for them to be able to see that progress when they are bringing their kids to us 3 times a week for like 2 or 3 hours at a time. That there is some progress being made, because it's pretty gradual.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a big time investment.
Oh, for sure.
And so I love that they're able to see that, like, nope, this is paying off. Like, this is good
Yes.
to come here, because look, we are making this increase in behavior that we want. That's
Right.
great.
And what's awesome about our Drake ABA clinic is our service is provided for free, because it's done by primarily graduate students. We are under a BCBAD, my supervisor, but it's primarily run by us. And you don't have to have the autism diagnosis in order to get service, because the service is free. So that's the part that I think is really awesome. I wish all ABA clinics could run like that in Iowa, because I think it would be a lot more beneficial. So many more people would be able to receive those services, because therapy is expensive.
Yes.
And if insurance doesn't cover it, I don't know how families would be able to pay for it. So yeah, we might have a couple kiddos who have that autism diagnosis, but definitely not all of them in the clinic. So
That's really cool. So that's there at Drake in Des Moines.
yep, yeah. So there we have one at Drake, and there's multiple practicum sites, but the one that I'm at is in West Des Moines. It's like a new building. It's called like the developmental, I think it's called like the Star Building. It's by Olive Garden, because I stopped there frequently after my shift. It's a super pretty shiny building. You can't miss it. It's awesome. The like developmental like doctor is there. And I think on the bottom floor might be like an OT or PT, but it's a cool building. It's really like just for kids and services for kids. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome. That's really, really cool. So families can go there. They don't need the autism diagnosis in order to get services through Drake.
Nope. Yeah. Through Drake ABA clinic, you don't need an autism diagnosis. You could call and just ask. Like I said, they're technically through Blank, like the hospital, but they have this awesome new building in West Des Moines, so they're not downtown anymore. But then we also have lots of patients that get referred to us from like the doctors on the other side of the building. So yeah,
Awesome.
it's very nice.
That is very, very cool. Yeah. So then when you are done with your master's there, what will your position be?
Yes.
How will people find you?
Yeah.
What's it called?
Oh my goodness. Well, I will complete my schooling in May of 2022. And then I probably will take like a month or two off to study for my board's exam. So I have to pass an exam to become a board certified behavior analyst. So a BCBA would be my title. And that's the end goal. That's what everyone's shooting for in the program. So once I hopefully pass my boards, it seems further and further away. Ironically, like the deeper I get into the semester, I'm like, wow, that's so far. But once I pass those, hopefully I do, then I will be able to just find a job with any opening that needs a BCBA. That could be directly working with kids in a clinic, which I really do enjoy doing, or I could be like a case manager type of person. I could work in schools. I could work at private clinics. Places like Child Serve also offer some ABA services. I could start my own clinic. Don't think that's going to happen, but that's always a possibility for people. There's lots of opportunities. There's also people who go into like organizational management. And that is dealing with like directly with the human service field and trying to figure out like what motivates their staff, what keeps staff staying at their jobs, things like that. But I really like the parent training aspect. So I'm hoping whatever type of job that I'm at, I will be able to work with parents to train them on some of these techniques that we use, so they can use them at home.
So what are some of the techniques for each of the different motivational factors?
So,
what are they called?
We just call just techniques that we would use.
Or the four motivational
those conditions.
Conditions.
Conditions. Yes. I use that word a lot now. Everything's a condition and everything is contingent. We use the word contingent so much in ABA. And I never used that word, I think, before, but now conditions and contingent. Everything is contingent on a behavior in ABA. But yeah, in those, one of the biggest things that we use is called 3-step prompting. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that. I feel like it's in other fields aside from ABA. But 3-step prompting, I feel like, is the easiest way to start implementing an ABA technique in your own home or in your own life with really anyone. But it's basically giving the child, in my case, usually 2 out of 3 opportunities to do the task independently. So the first prompt of our 3-step prompting, you would give a verbal instruction. So you would maybe say, like, sit down at the table. Like, maybe it's time for dinner and you say, sit down at the table. The big thing with that prompt is you don't want to ask a question because they can say no. And technically you asked a question and they said no, and then they answered. So you could say, like, sit down at the table, please. And maybe they don't sit down at the table because they're on their tablet and they don't want to eat. And then you would get their attention and you would maybe point at the chair and give them a gesture and restate the instruction, like, sit at the table. And so that leaves 2 different times that they were able to do it independently. If they still don't do it independently, you can physically guide them to sit at the table. So this is, I mean, I guess thinking more children that you can actually pick up. But sometimes you have to pick up bigger kids. So it just depends. But that way they don't get out of the demand, which could also cause some further behaviors down the line of not having to listen because you never made me finish the demand, so I'm just not going to do it. So that way they do it, but they do have those opportunities to complete the instruction on their own. And then if they do it, you give them some behavior specific praise. So you would say, thank you for sitting in your chair. I like how you listen to me. And that would be for the verbal instruction or the gesture. If you have to physically guide them into the chair, they don't get praise because you had to do it for them. But usually kids catch on because especially kids who can do it themselves, like, they don't really want to be picked up. Like, they are their own person. They can sit down in the chair by themselves. So eventually maybe you just have to use that verbal prompt and that gesture prompt, and you don't have to physically guide them, which is the goal. But yeah, 3-step prompting is a big one. Instead of just saying, like, like, come here, do this right now, and you're doing all 3 at once. And if they don't listen in that 2 seconds, you go and you pick them up and you put them in the chair. That's kind of taking away their independence. You're not even giving them, like, the opportunity to do it. So taking a step back, taking a breath, because sometimes it takes longer than you would like it to just have them sit in the chair or go brush their teeth, things like that. But yeah, 3-step prompting is one that we use all the time.
And that works for all the different categories.
Oh yeah, you can use that in anything, with anyone. I've used it, like, even with, like, my little cousins, and you'd be, like, surprised how fast, like, they'll respond to it. Oh, goodness. As, like, typically developing children even like, it goes for anyone.
Yeah, this is really interesting because, like you said, in Iowa, we don't have a lot of ABA or ABA centers. And I think that it's just recently in the past couple of years, I've even been hearing about this.
Yes.
And so I think that it is just a really new emerging system for coping with behaviors for kids.
For sure. It has kind of a rough history, I think, depending on who you talk to. They might say ABA is awful. I ended up on ABA TikTok one night and I could only stay for a little bit because I was like, oh my gosh, like, all these people hate ABA and, like, this is, like, what I'm putting, like, my whole entire life into right now. But yeah, ABA has, like, I think a rough history, but I think all maybe of, like, the mental health, like, field might, ABA just hasn't been around for so long. So when they think of the things that they were doing, it wasn't super far. I mean, it was in, like, the 50s-ish, 40s, somewhere around there. I could be wrong, but I think that's what it is. But from, like, the autism community, because some of them say, like, we are teaching them to be compliant robots is, like, a complaint we hear a lot, because we do teach compliance, but we also are promoting independence. And as with anything, like, we've evolved so much. We have a lot more to do and a lot of ways to go. But yeah, I feel like ABA sometimes has a bad rap. So I'm glad you guys haven't heard that it's, like, super awful, because I feel like some people have.
Okay, so tell us about these TikToks.
it's just like, and sometimes I think it might be for the views or whatever, but it's like,
Oh, it's all for
like,
the views.
right.
Everything's for the views.
But it's like, like we're trying to undo what ABA did to my child for the last like 16 years or something like that.
Wow.
It's things like that. And obviously it's going to vary from clinic to clinic. It's not like there's like a standard that everyone has to follow. You can put your own type of things in place as long as they do follow the guidelines, basically. So yeah, it's stuff like that. Or just like ABA is like invasive to like my child. Like if my child wants to throw a tantrum, I'm gonna let him throw a tantrum because he feels like he needs to throw a tantrum and things like that. ABA is just there to help. It's an option. I think it would work really well for children who have like ADHD or ADD or like ODD especially, but we're not quite there yet.
Yeah. Well, I think that kind of brings us to one point that I was kind of thinking, which is that, if we try to take a behavioral, and we see this in BHIS too, if we try to take a behavioral approach and only a behavioral approach, then we can get that kind of like, well, I'm not, my feelings are not being validated and my self-expression is being limited. But so in our situation, if we only do BHIS, right, and kind of don't have that therapeutic side of things, families that only go to therapy sometimes have this complaint as well, right? Like, okay, my child feels heard and my child feels seen, but I still can't get them to sit down.
Yes.
So like a lot of good it does me, So I think that what you're kind of describing here, and maybe what might have been going on with some of those families, is that if we try to take only a behavioral route and not take into account that therapeutic side and that need for like, no, therapy is something totally different. And they're both important.
Yes.
And I think that sometimes people think that therapy is behavioral health counseling.
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
they'll go to therapy and then they'll be mad that like, well, you're not telling my kid what to do. And we're like, no, we're not going to tell your kid what to do, right? So I think that what happens is that people kind of go to one or the other and they think, okay, I've checked the box. Right? Like, okay, I'm doing it. I'm doing BHIS. I'm doing ABA. I'm doing therapy, right?
Yep.
But the thing is that they're both needed. Both sides of that coin need to be addressed with any child or any person,
Yes.
right? And so, and I think that sometimes families or parents will think like, well, I already have therapy, so why would I need ABA? Right? Or vice versa. Like I already have ABA. Why do I need a therapist? They are two completely different things, but they are two sides of the same coin. That child needs that emotional support and that expression and that ability to just be who they are. And they need that from therapy. But then they also need systems and tools, and parents need systems and tools to be able to understand the behaviors that that child is communicating through. So, child is communicating through behaviors, and parents, a lot of times, like, we can't read, we don't have the ability, like the literacy really, to read what that child is trying to communicate to us. And so then we think it says all kinds of things like, I'm a horrible parent and my parent hates me and I never did this to my parents and you're lucky I don't spank your butt like my mom did, right? Like we hear all of those things that I think a lot of times is an interpretation of those behaviors, but they're not necessarily accurate interpretations of the behaviors. So then to be able to give the parents and the kiddos a system, basically like a language, a common language where the child can communicate things through behaviors, and then the parent can read what that communication means and respond appropriately to that communication in a way that the child can now understand, is so needed and necessary in behavioral health. And it goes so nicely with therapy. It's like peanut butter and jelly.
Yes.
they need each other. And do you find that the kiddos that you're working with, that that they also do mental health counseling?
A few of them. It really depends. Some of them do. Some of our kids are like pretty low functioning, so like mental health counseling like really isn't exactly an option. but some of our kids, like, they do see like a psychologist because they might be on medications, specifically like meds for like ADD, ADHD, things like that. We hear, it's funny actually, so we like kind of split like a station, and like nurses are on one side and we're on the other side. And I hear nurses a lot actually recommend BHIS services. I don't know
Wow.
what they're recommending them through, but I was so surprised to hear them give BHIS as an option. I don't know like who they're recommending them through, but I hear that probably a couple times a week, because there are like these families are needing services. Like they'll call and the doctor, he has like a 1.5 year wait list if you want to get into him, and so just to like help with services at the time, nurses they'll recommend BHIS, and I think it's awesome because I feel like not enough people know what BHIS is or ABA is. Just all of the things that I love, people don't know what they are.
Yes. Well, and that's why I think it's so great that you're on the podcast this week and sharing all of this information, because I know I'm learning a lot. And I think that a lot of people who are listening are going to be learning a lot and saying like, okay, ABA, datum, right? but being able to know that like this is an option, and it's necessary. And even if you are in counseling, even if you're in like traditional, what we would think counseling, mental health counseling, behavioral health counseling is available, and it is a perfect complement, and it's not overlap, right? Like it's not the same thing. Like they're totally both beneficial, and they're kind of like two legs, that we would walk on. So I just love that. I think that's so important. And so what about BHIS? So are there differences, or do you want to talk a little bit about BHIS, what BHIS is, and then where BHIS might be more appropriate or where ABA might be more appropriate, and then where would somebody do both? Would that be an option?
Yeah, so BHIS. Oh my goodness. So I've been like a BHIS provider for I think like a 1.5 years, because Chrissa, we have our 1.5 year check-in soon, which is I know, which is crazy. I never like remember how long I have been with you guys until like I get those check-ins. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's already been that long. But yeah, to me, like BHIS is I guess we work on a lot of behavior, like working on behaviors in the home, specifically like maybe with families, but we work on things like conflict resolution or communication skills, or like maybe anger management, a lot of that like healthy coping skills. It always like cracks me up when like my 5-year-old clients like know what a coping skill is, and we can talk about it, and they're like, I use this coping skill today, and I was like, that's awesome, because I had no idea what a coping skill was when I was 5.
Me neither. I never would have said that when I was 5.
Yes, it is. I think it's just that's so awesome. I love when we can just like we talk about mental health, like me and like a 6 or 5-year-old, which is crazy because I feel like I don't even do that with like my friends sometimes. So like, but yeah, we work on stuff like that, like identifying emotions. I guess specifically with one of my clients, like everything that he does, it's because he's mad, and working because like maybe he's actually sad or upset or embarrassed, but everything to him is mad. So like stuff like that, it can really be so individualized, which I think is my favorite part. There's no like it needs to be like this across the board. You can tailor these activities to whatever client you're working with. I think that's one of my favorite parts of BHIS, and also kind of runs into ABA. Everything in ABA is individualized. We use like their favorite toys are used as reinforcement. Their favorite foods or snacks are used as reinforcement. We everything is individualized, which is similar to BHIS. But I think they can totally be done together. I feel like the more the better. It's just like they could work hand in hand, and like Julie said, they're like each like one leg to walk. Like they're not really going to. I don't necessarily think they're ever going to really cross paths. They might just be like parallel to each other. But I think they'd both be really helpful. And for families who are struggling, I think that, like I said, gradual progress is still progress. And I feel like you would maybe look back a few months, 6 months, and look where you're at, and you're going to be like, wow, like it's changed that much. And maybe it's little things, but I feel like little things start to add up over time.
Yeah. The little things are the big things, aren't
Yeah.
they?
Yes. Yeah.
They really, and especially with kids, because like kids are everything that happens now, or every new skill that they pick up now or habit that they pick up now just grows exponentially over their lifetime, right? So like they're like little seeds now, and everything that happens, I mean, these things are so important at this age, because they will impact their adulthood. They will have those skills and they will have those systems and know how to do it and know that they know how to do it, right? That's important. Like kids, it's so important for them to understand that, like, I have skills, I can do these things, right? I'm not powerless over my
Yes.
world,
Yes.
and over my own behaviors, you know. It's so, so important. So I love that they've got this. The other thing is, so for ABA, is that in home, or is that's in the facility?
It can be both. It really just depends where you're receiving services. Right now, we do it in a clinical setting, basically, but they do offer in-home services, which I'm a little partial to because I've been in the home for the last year and a half with BHIS, and I feel like in-home is going to be the most like naturalistic setting that you're going to get. But there's also BCBAs in the school district, because some kids really struggle at school. So they really, ABA can kind of be anywhere.
I love that. I think there is so much to doing those behavioral services at home, just being able to build the systems where the child is. You could give any suggestion to someone on the fence about starting counseling or not, whether that's behavioral health counseling, ABA counseling, mental health counseling. What suggestion might you give somebody?
Oh, goodness. I don't want to say like just do it. I feel like the counselor in me is just like do it.
You need a counselor.
Yeah.
You need a counselor.
But I think after like that initial thought, I think I would take a step back. And some advice I would give would maybe like start slow. I mean, you do have a lot of time to maybe figure out someone who fits your needs. I would say don't be afraid to have to switch a provider or switch like a company or agency in general, because I know I've had to do that. I guess you're just looking for that right fit. So I maybe prepared for it to take some time, but just know that time will hopefully be worth it in the end.
It is a journey and a process, isn't it? Of finding that right fit. And I think sometimes people start out and they go, okay, well, I tried a counselor and it didn't work. And you go, wait, no. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of counselors. There is a right one for you. Just because that one didn't work, right, doesn't mean
right.
So I love that.
My name is Reyna Melendez and I need a counselor.
Awesome.
Yeah, you do.
You do.
Cool.
We know this.
So do we.
We know this.
So do you have the phone number for the ABA Center?
515-224-3365. And we are located in West Des Moines, but we have families travel to us kind of from all over central Iowa. So yeah, if you're interested, you could give that number a call. I will probably pick up if it's a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, but if not, someone's always there Monday through Friday.
Awesome. Plus you get to go to Olive Garden if you go visit Reyna. So.
Yeah, stop there on the way.
Yes, yeah. Olive Garden, Red Lobster. I get a lot of bread.
I was going to say, when you say those names, all I hear is breadsticks and cheddar biscuits.
Yeah. Like once a week. I've been trying to cut back, but like it was for like once a week there for a while. I was like stopping and just getting breadsticks.
Nice. Heart and Solutions also. So we do BHIS services. If you want to do BHIS with Reyna, you can contact us at 800-531-4236. You can do that in person, or you can do it on the phone, or you can do it on the computer. Also mental health counseling. So if you are doing behavioral health counseling and you're worried about like, is my child getting that validation? Is my child going to be a robot? Like, no, because you can give them that expressive mental health counseling as well, side by side, so that the behavioral health counseling part isn't going to take away their individuality, because you are supporting it through bringing them to their mental health counseling services so they can express themselves. You can call us 800-531-4236. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/you need a counselor. If you have questions for Reyna, message us there, right? If you were like, okay, but what was that 4-letter thing you said, right? Or like, what
Yes.
about this? Or if you want to just ask her, like, okay, this is what's going on with my child. Would ABA be helpful for my child? Send us a message there. Those are all confidential, and we will send that to Reyna. She can get those answered for you as well.
Yeah, also, I guess if you are even looking into going to the ABA field, you could always send a message to them. Drake is the only face-to-face program in Iowa, and I've never done an online program, but I will say it seems like it'd totally be worth it. So if you ever had questions about just starting your education there, you could always ask that too.
That's a great resource. Yeah. So reach out to us on there. If you've got questions for Reyna, we will make sure that she gets them and she will go ahead and answer those. If you're looking to become an ABA certified counselor. Now, what was the credential that you get when
Yes,
you
see,
pass
I
your
told you
board?
the acronyms are everywhere. BCBA.
ECB Abaca. Okay. So if you want to be a BACA,
Kind of.
like Reyna,
Yes.
then go ahead and message us there, because she can walk you through that. I think that it's really great that we're interviewing you in your first semester of this, because you are getting all of this brand new like all the
Yes.
information you're getting right now is up to date, state of the art, like the most
Yes.
recent research, and that is a really cool place to be. So,
For sure.
you know, and I'd love to have you back after graduation or closer to graduation,
Yes.
and to kind of hear more about the process of this, and, you know, and what your future plans are. I think that'll be really exciting episode
For
too.
sure.
So follow
That'd be
us.
awesome. That'd be
You
awesome.
can hear another interview with Reyna.
And like Julie mentioned at the beginning, we do post every Sunday at 5 p.m. So save up your laundry or your chores throughout the week. Do them while you listen to us on Sundays, or Monday morning while you're getting ready for school or work for the week. Call your counselor. Help us motivate you to help you get a counselor as well. So Sundays at 5, we are on Spotify, we're on Apple Music, Anchor, so you can listen to us there. We're on our YouTube as well. So I'm Chrissa Brown.
And I'm Julie Johnson, and we need a counselor.
And so do you.
Thank you, Reyna.
Yeah, thanks,
for being on the
Reyna.
show.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.